All right, welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into something literally every professional, team leader, or just anyone who solves problems for a living absolutely needs in their toolkit. We're talking about how to permanently fix those stubborn, systemic operational problems. You know the ones. If you're constantly feeling like you're just putting out the exact same fires day after day, well, you're definitely in the right place. Today, we're breaking down two absolute powerhouse tools, the fishbone diagram and the 5 whys. Let's get to it. So seriously, think about this for a second. Why do we keep fixing the exact same problems? It's so frustratingly relatable, right? You implement this quick fix, everyone gives each other a high five and breathes a sigh of relief, and then, 3 weeks later? The system crashes again. The exact same quality defect comes right back. Why? Well, it's usually because we're just treating the symptoms instead of the actual disease. Basically, we're slapping a Band-Aid on a process that honestly needs full-on surgery.
Okay, let's dive into this. The actual cure to this recurring problem disease is root cause analysis. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS, actually hits the nail on the head with their definition. They call it a structured team process that assists in identifying underlying factors or causes of an adverse event or near miss. But hey, notice those two words there, structured and team. This isn't just one person sitting in a room guessing what went wrong. It's a deliberate, highly collaborative methodology. We want to find out exactly why a system failed so we can fix it for good, not just for the week.
Here's our quick roadmap for the explainer today. First, we'll hit the root cause dilemma. Second, going wide with fishbone diagrams. Third, the 6 M's of process control. Fourth, going deep with the 5 whys. Fifth, we'll look at the combined workflow. And finally, proactive problem solving.
Section 1. The root cause dilemma. Finding the real issue. To really solve complex problems, we absolutely have to shift our entire mindset. We need to move away from this addiction to rapid symptom relief and lean into deep, methodical investigation. It's literally like going to a doctor. Think about it. A surface-level symptom is a fever, right? You can pop a pill to bring the fever down. Sure, that's a quick fix. But the systemic root cause, that's the actual infection causing the fever in the first place. If you don't treat that underlying process failure, the problem is just going to keep coming back. It's the exact same in business. An isolated incident is usually just a symptom of a much larger, recurring issue that's baked right into your systems. Root cause analysis is how we find and cure that underlying infection once and for all.
Moving right along to Section 2, fishbone diagrams, going wide for causes.
This method is perfectly designed to help your team explore a massive array of potential causes all at the exact same time. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the visual structure itself. It literally looks like a fish skeleton. The problem we're trying to solve sits right at the head, over there on the right side. Then you've got this main spine extending backwards, and branching off that spine are all your major categories for potential contributing causes. We're talking things like equipment, environment, rules, and staff. What's so great about this structure is that it forces your team to look comprehensively across every single area of the business. You end up brainstorming causes that honestly might otherwise be completely overlooked. And hey, we absolutely have to give credit where credit is due. This brilliant diagram was created by Dr. Kaoru Ishikawa. He was an engineering professor at the University of Tokyo and, frankly, an absolute titan of Japanese total quality management back in the post-war era. He actually invented quality control circles to promote this idea of humanity-centric management. He was adamant that quality wasn't just the job of one single department somewhere in the basement, it had to be a company-wide effort. His fishbone diagram, which by the way is rightfully also called the Ishikawa diagram, has become the global standard for problem solving across basically every industry you can think of. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how the method works in the real world. This is a case study from CMS about a resident who unfortunately fell while being assisted by an aide in a care facility. The core problem, the fall, is stated right there at the head of the fish. But by branching out, the team didn't just point fingers and blame the aide, which is what usually happens, right? Instead, they found that under the equipment bone, the lift battery and its spare weren't charged simply because there was no process in place to ensure they got charged. Then, under rules and procedures, they realized the aide didn't even know the resident required a 2-person transfer. Why? Because the care card was outdated. It's wild. The diagram reveals that it wasn't just one mistake. Multiple systemic failures across totally different categories culminated in this one adverse event.
Okay, Section 3, the 6 M's of process control, categorizing our inputs. So, you might be wondering, how do we actually decide what categories go on those bones in the first place? Well, this is how we ensure we don't accidentally skip a potential source of failure. The classic categories, these originally come from manufacturing, are known as the 6 M's. First, we've got man, which is really just people and human variation. Think of a worker who's exhausted or maybe got completely different training than someone else. Then there's machine, covering equipment operation and just normal wear and tear. Method is the actual procedure you're using. Mother Nature covers the environment, things like humidity or temperature that could unexpectedly mess with production. Material is all about your raw inputs and supplier quality. And finally, measurement. This deals with how we evaluate the work. Imagine a faulty gauge giving you completely bogus values. The takeaway here is that if there is unwanted variation in any of these inputs, you are inevitably going to have quality problems down the line. But it's super important to know that these categories are incredibly adaptable depending on what industry you're in. If you're in the service sector, the manufacturing M's might not fit. You might use people, process, technology, policy, environment, and measurement instead. Or the project management tool RCA actually suggests a 4S model: surroundings, suppliers, skills, and systems. A lot of modern teams even toss in a 7th M for management. Because let's be real, sometimes leadership missing the ball on something, like say, failing to hire a replacement for a totally crucial role, is the actual underlying cause of the failure. Ultimately, the exact labels don't matter a whole lot. The whole shebang is just about making sure you're looking at the problem from literally every possible angle.
All right, moving to section 4, the 5 whys, going deep on one chain.
Okay, so now that we know how to go wide and capture all those possibilities, it's time to shift gears. We're moving from exploring a huge array of categories to drilling straight down into one single, highly specific issue. So the crucial point is understanding when exactly to use which tool. This comparison from 5xYs clears it right up. The 5 whys is a linear tool. It goes deep on one specific causal chain. It's fast. We're talking maybe 15 to 30 minutes, and you only need a small team, like 1 to 5 people. It is absolutely perfect when your problem has a very obvious trigger. The fishbone, on the flip side, is branching. It goes wide across a ton of potential causes. It takes a bit more time, up to 45 to 90 minutes, and needs a larger team for a proper brainstorm. Basically, use the fishbone when the root cause is a total mystery, and grab the 5 whys when you've got a clear starting point that just needs some deep digging.
Let's actually walk through a practical 5 whys example, step by step, just to really cement this. Okay, imagine your customer support satisfaction score just completely tanked because a recent CRM software migration caused some massive data loss. Total nightmare, right? First, we ask, why did the migration cause data loss? Well, because customer history wasn't fully imported. Second, why wasn't it imported? Turns out the migration script just skipped records that had non-standard date formats. Third, okay, why were there non-standard dates? Well, the old CRM just let people type whatever they wanted. Free text entry with zero validation. Fourth, why on earth wasn't the script tested against that messy real-world data? Because the testing was done using a perfectly sanitized, fake sample dataset. And boom, right there, we hit our systemic root cause. The migration testing plan was fundamentally missing a basic validation step to compare record counts using actual production data. Just by asking why a few times, we drilled straight past the surface symptoms and found the true systemic failure.
Moving into section 5, combined workflow, the ultimate process.
So what happens when we take that wide net breadth of the fishbone diagram and fuse it with the deep dive precision of the 5 whys? Well, as the experts at 5 whys point out, combining these tools is quite literally the gold standard for thorough root cause analysis. If you're dealing with a complex multi-cause problem, just using one of these tools might leave you with some pretty big blind spots or just unverified guesses. But using them together, they create an unstoppable, highly structured problem-solving machine.
Let's move to and see how this builds into a highly practical 5-step sequence you can use with your teams tomorrow. Step 1, define the problem clearly. That's the head of your fish. Step 2, get everyone together and just brainstorm using the fishbone. You want to capture every possible cause here, completely without judgment. Step 3, have the team vote on the top 2 or 3 most likely candidates from that big board. Step 4, you take those winning candidates and you run a 5 whys drill down on each one to find their specific systemic root causes. And finally, step 5, you define your corrective actions, you assign clear owners, and you verify them a few weeks later to make sure they actually worked. It's brilliant. You start wide, you locate the hotspots, and then you go deep.
And our final section, section 6, proactive solving, designing better systems.
Now here is a real game changer. These tools aren't just for postmortems after things have already gone horribly wrong. They are actually incredibly powerful for proactive process design. Instead of using the 6Ms just to figure out what broke, you can flip it and use them to define exactly what needs to go right in the first place.
The Luminous Group points out that really proactive companies will run what-if scenarios against the 6Ms to build out these incredibly robust contingency plans. They define the exact conditions required for absolute process excellence across their people, their methods, machines, materials. This effectively eliminates that variation before it can even cause a defect. They aren't just sitting around reacting to customer complaints, they're actively anticipating and preventing them.
So, I want to leave you with this final thought, and it's a bit of a challenge. Ask yourself right now, if your absolute top operator retired tomorrow, or if there was a sudden, massive power disruption, do you know exactly where your process would break? If you aren't 100% sure, please don't wait for the disaster to actually happen. Grab a whiteboard, gather up your team, draw a giant fishbone, and just keep asking why until you've built a truly bulletproof system. Thank you so much for hanging out with me in this explainer today. Now get out there and start solving those problems right at the root.